coming hot. We're back with another episode. Real quick, first the sponsors. I want to thank everybody at www.johnbartoloshow.com. I want to thank everybody over at Rhino Metals, Gallo Technology, Kuyu Clothing, Blackwater Ammunition, Galco Leather Holsters, Right On Optics, Manscaped. I think that's everybody. If I missed you, I'm sorry. Volquartz and Firearms. The list is down below. Head over to the website. Reviews. Leave reviews. Special guest today, pioneer in women's MMA. It's like Women's Week. We had Lisa King on. And now we have the one and only Zoila Frausto. What's going on?
Nothing much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, listen. This is kind of exciting because I love diving into women's combat sports and the evolution of it and how it's changed. I mean, the men's side's easy. Fuck them. So
or not.
The men's side's easy. So, listen. You're a pioneer. The first women's Bellator?
Yes.
Yeah. Champions.
And the only in that weight class.
Yeah. That's a big deal. It's a big deal. Listen, does it surprise you? I want to dive right in. How the game's evolved through the years, because you're a veteran, you've been around, you've seen it. And is it shocking at all how much the women's game has changed and evolved to move towards such complete fighters now that you got to have a little bit of everything? There's no more getting away with just being a specialist. Is that all that surprised you? Or
not at all.
No?
No, not at all. The way it was moving pretty quickly when I started, so I knew right away that it was going to evolve pretty quickly. So
has it evolved quickly in your mind, though?
I think so. I mean, I've been in it long enough to see it happen. I didn't think that women were going to be in the UFC, especially after what Dana was saying early on. But other than that,
I think he was scared. Sorry, Dana. But I think he was a little scared. You know, the women's game is a fun one, a funner one to follow, I think, in many ways than the men's game, because we're seeing it play out so perfectly in front of us. You know, we saw, we talked yesterday about it a little bit, the Fight Girls thing. And, and I had Lisa on, and we share some mutual friends, and we've seen kind of how that's evolved. And when it started, much like the men, it was all these specialists kind of coming together. And now it's turned into you have to be complete.
Yep.
And when you look out there, is that what you see? Or you're a professional, so I'll ask you, what do you see when you look out there? Do you still see a little specialization, or do you see more complete?
I see more complete. I mean, there are a few, but it's more complete. On the women's side, though, some of us can get away with it a little bit, but
why is that? Why more so on the women's side can you get away with it?
I think there's just less of us. There's less of us. There's not a lot of us that are super athletic and great at one thing or another. That's just the way women's sports goes, I believe.
But it's starting to clean itself up.
Yeah. With
Amanda, even Valentino comes from a Muay Thai background, So Muay Thai or wrestling is becoming more of the base, right?
Big time. Wrestling is always going to be the big one, but Muay Thai, for sure. So a lot of women don't like to get hit. But I guess nobody really likes to get hit, so.
But I think wrestling has a lot of holes, and I think Ben Askren proved that. There's a lot of holes, and you still have to, because wrestlers always want to lead with their head. There's certain things that they want to do that put themselves in very, I don't want to say dangerous spots, but maybe bad spots.
Yeah, it could be dangerous too. They are dangerous spots.
Do you think women will evolve in the wrestling vein now that you see more of an emphasis on it? Because I can't name a lot of great women wrestlers. Maybe I just don't know, but
there's Sarah McMahon.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I believe so, because there's a lot of women coming up in wrestling, and just like the men, they want to look to something else when they're done. So
it's true, but I think as women come up through the college ranks, and compete in wrestling, they might find it fortuitous to pursue something in MMA or something in that space. Maybe. I don't know, but I think Muay Thai for women's been more of the base.
Oh yeah, big time. Well, that's where I started. So for me, it was definitely.
So take me through, your journey and why the hell you do this. Because I've questioned, because I ask a lot of the women on the show these certain questions, but I want to know, like, what the hell were you thinking about why you wanted to get into a ring and fight, and what the fuck was your family thinking?
Oh, man. I've been an athlete all my life. Ever since I was a little girl, my dad threw me in every sport I could possibly get involved with. I did taekwondo when I was little. I played soccer throughout college, and it just wasn't, I played it all my life, so it just wasn't enough for me anymore. I needed another challenge, and I was really looking into boxing, and then I saw kickboxing, and I was like, that's something I want to do. Jumped right in, and the rest was pretty much history. I just really wanted to fight. I was angry at the moment when I started, so it was a good outlet for me, and it worked out really well.
There's always anger at the root. Why are chicks so angry?
Oh, for me, it was relationships, my parents. That was a big one for me. Yep.
Did they think you were crazy in the beginning?
My mom did. My dad wasn't surprised at all,
Yeah.
because, I mean, I grew up an athlete, and he knew that
It was going that way.
Yeah, it was going to be something. My mom obviously was scared, as any mother would be.
Yeah, I mean, I had that conversation with Claudia. Like, that's always a tough conversation at home. Like, I don't even know how you start it. Like, it's almost like saying, like, hey, Mom, I'm pregnant. Like, hey, Mom.
It's completely different.
I know. But, hey, Mom, I want to be a fighter.
Yeah.
Is that how it goes?
It was just more like telling her what I was doing. For her, it was just like, okay, I guess. I'm a little scared. I'll pray for you.
Yeah. Did they disown you?
No, not at all. Not at all. They were fine when I did it, because growing up, I was a little tougher than most. So my mom was like, okay, well, I could see that happening. But when my little sister did, it was a little different.
Yeah. Always.
But for me, it was like, she'll do all right.
When that bug trickles down, it gets weird in the house.
Yeah, especially because she was the baby. So for her to do it, it was completely out of left field. But for me, they were like, we could see that. Okay, I guess we'll support you.
Now, I've had a lot of women pioneers on the show. Rachel Balkovic, who's the hitting coach for the Yankees, comes to mind. Several others, obviously fighters, quite a few. Do you feel like you're a pioneer in the sport?
No, I don't. I hear it a lot, and it's so weird to hear every single time. I mean, I have been around for a very long time, but it's weird for me to hear. It just doesn't.
Do you feel like it's a bad word, though?
I just feel like it makes me sound old.
Oh.
So that's why I don't like it.
No, but I think, I think being, somebody who's an originator. Let me choose a different word, right?
There, I can go with that. Yeah.
Who's an original. Mm-hmm. Let me pick on that. I think that's the purest thing, because I say it all the time. If you don't have original thoughts, original content, original anything, what are you then? You're a teacher at that point. You know what I mean? And teaching is where, like, every failed whatever goes to die, not to be down teaching, but I'm saying you reach a point where you have to be a pioneer. You have to be somebody that says, I was one of the first to do this.
Yeah.
I was one of the first to do that. I broke this ceiling, this mold, whatever it is. And I think, it's not a bad word. Like you said, it might make you feel old, right? Old's a bad word, but it might make you feel old, but I don't think it makes you old.
I mean, I don't feel old.
Right.
But
I think it's a good term. I think it's a healthy term, because what are you if you're not a pioneer?
I guess just a fighter.
Just a fighter. Yeah.
Just another fighter.
And to me, that's worse, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So,
no offense to any of the just fighters.
Now, when you look out there at women, and you've traveled all over, competed, you're at that age, you're at that in between where you've got to see it grow. That has to excite you.
Yeah. I mean, it is. It's exciting.
Even at tournaments, at events, I mean, just seeing more women there is huge.
Yeah, big time. Mm-hmm.
And huge for the sport.
For sure.
Do you think women will ever, I don't want to say surpass the men in the sport in a sense of following, but you have some really strong women's champions right now across the board.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing. I think that's a great thing for the sport, because I feel women tend to be more engaging, more devoted to. Men are like, oh, fighting's on, we'll put it on, wrestling, whatever's on, it doesn't matter. Women tend to be more dedicated and more supportive and tend to reach in their pocket and spend more money.
Yeah, for sure.
So it has to excite you, right? On some level.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
Where it goes from here, I don't know. Do you think, I think they have enough divisions now, not just in the UFC, but I think across the board. I know there's been some call for, what is it below 115? It's like...
atomweight. They've had him for a while, yeah. My little sister fought at atomweight. They're tiny. Those girls are so small, but they're so fast.
But it's like, how many divisions do you fill up,
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing, I want to ask you, because just recently we had the Tyson-Roy Jones deal, right?
Yeah.
We didn't see a female on that card.
No.
But it's intriguing to me and to a lot of people I talk with, that celebrity type card, right?
Yeah.
And we saw some gimmick fights in there, YouTubers. I'm a big fan of that stuff because I think it adds longevity to the sport, and I think it gives people an outlet. Do you think in time there'll be something like maybe a Ronda Rousey, Kat Zingano rematch, some type of nostalgia match?
That would be awesome. Yeah, I would love to see that. I hope so.
I think there's a good place for it.
100%, for sure.
Whether or not it's MMA or it's boxing or just something fun. I think there's room for that type of throwback fight, if you will.
For sure.
But I think that opens up so many doors, similar to what Dana's doing with the ESPN Plus, where he's got the jiu-jitsu in there, he's got the tournament. So it extends people's careers. There's a lot of guys, Jake Shields, there's a lot of people that are competing in those types of formatted matches, and they're getting not just longevity out of their career, but they're getting the ability to compete, which is what they love.
Yeah.
I don't know that the dollars are there, but
I think, and for a lot of older athletes, that's it. It's like, we just want to keep going. Nobody wants to stop. So something like that. It's pretty intriguing.
Is it a gimmick?
Might be a little bit.
But it's okay, right? It's okay to say that it is. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's a little bit of nostalgia. I do think there's a little gimmick component to it. Of course. Come on. How can you not say the Roy Jones Tyson thing? Now, they dressed it up the right way because they said it's an exhibition, and they didn't come out there and try to insult our intelligence and saying we're getting the 30-year-old Tyson and we're getting the 30-year-old Roy Jones. But I do think that there's room on those cards for that to evolve into something. And I was kind of mad that there wasn't a women's match on there.
Yeah. I was thinking about that too, watching that. I was like, what would be nice? I wonder if they would do women.
What would be some of your dream matchups to see on there?
Oh, man. As far as what? Like boxing, MMA,
it doesn't
Muay
matter.
Thai?
It's your world.
I've always wanted to see Jermaine Darondami fight Miriam Nakamoto.
Okay.
So that's something I really wanted. But in Muay Thai.
5 rounds.
Yeah.
It'd have to be limited.
Maybe 2-minute rounds.
Well, that's what Tyson and Roy Jones did. They did the 2-minute rounds. The only problem was with the clinching. It just 2 minutes goes by quick. But they had restrictions. The sanctions on so they had to go to California to get it approved. And originally they were supposed to have headgear.
Yeah.
So they were able to get past that, but there was limitations on what they could do.
Yeah.
So they did 2-minute rounds, quick whistles, kind of thing, and that's kind of how they got away with it. But
they were gonna have headgear? I didn't know that.
That was the original. That was
that
the
would have
original.
been so weird.
Yeah, they wanted them to wear headgear, but they categorized it as heavy sparring. So it was an exhibition with heavy sparring. So, yeah, I like that. I know a lot of people look at that, and I know upcoming we have a boxing match between 2 power lifters. There's a lot of stuff that's like going to be coming out, that celebrity type cards. But I do like that nostalgia type piece. It has a place.
It does.
It has a place. Is it gimmicky? Yes. Is it a gadget? Yes. But if it makes money, it makes sense, right?
I guess so, yeah.
That's
what they say.
That's what they say. So for you, you're at an interesting point. I know you've been toying around with getting back in the ring.
I've been trying very hard since.
What do you think
August.
it is?
You know what? To be honest, I think a lot of people that are, I don't want to say it, but I feel like
they're afraid.
Well, not just afraid, but nobody outside of the UFC or Bellator wants to fight me. I believe, because they're trying to get a quick in, and you're not going to get a quick in with me unless you put me out completely. I mean, and it's possible, but still, like, nobody wants to take that chance, I don't think. And for me, it's not. I can't find a fight because of that. So, who knows?
I think, the gods of fighting, if you will, have a funny way of doing things. But I do think that there's a time and a place and things happen for a reason. And I think you being here training, you kind of getting back to traveling around and seeing some people and seeing some faces, I think puts you back in the mix by default.
I would hope so.
I'm not going to name names. There are other girls that were recently in the area because I don't know what deals have been worked out and what hasn't been worked out. But I know that by being seen is better than being unseen. Yeah. If you know what I mean. Yeah. And I think being back around and back in the mix causes that. It's like out of sight, out of mind. Yeah.
You gotta try to make yourself relevant again. I feel like that's what I'm trying to do. It's like, it's been hard. So, yeah.
Now, the self-defense, we talked about jiu-jitsu on a I love jiu-jitsu level, but privately, but the self-defense component means a lot to you too. And being able to defend yourself. Yeah. Where does that come from?
My father, very early on.
He's like, you got to watch out for these guys, or
pretty much, yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. But then I, being able to protect myself, and it just kind of grew to something else. So, but yeah, that's where it started. Was my father, for sure.
Do you feel like you can defend yourself?
Yes, 100%. And any situation is going to be different, though. So it just really depends on the situation. But I feel pretty confident that I can do enough to be in a safe place.
The idea is to always be more capable, right?
Yeah.
So that's why you train in these different disciplines, and we all know all fighting and all confrontations are a management of distance. Yeah. Right? So Muay Thai teaches you to keep your opponent off balance. It gives you enough in the clinch that when you're close, and it gives you enough to create separation and keep the person 3 to 5 feet away from you, which is always ideal depending on how you kick and what type of defense you use. Shooting, the same thing, knife fighting, anything. They're all management of distance. Mm-hmm. The age-old thing is jiu-jitsu, for example, is ground fighting, it's mud fighting. Mm-hmm. It was, if you go back and you study how it was created, judo, the throws, the incorporation of that. So it's very easy to me for a fighter to understand those principles. Yeah. And understand that management of distance. And then it comes down to what force you apply at what distance and what makes the most sense. And that's what makes you more of a capable person. And I feel like amongst athletes, they have a tremendous desire to be more capable. Yeah. And I feel like that's every fighter that I have in here, they're always like, I have this overwhelming desire to be complete. Yeah. In every aspect. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what leads them to pursue, whether it's self-defense with blades, whether it's guns, whether it's training, whether it's situational awareness, whether it's all these different things. Yeah. They just want to be more aware because it's very different when you're not in a cage and there's structure and there's rules. Yeah. And it creates that environment. Now, you have a tremendous base of knowledge in terms of technique and everything else. Have you ever been in a street fight where you've had to apply any of that?
Unfortunately, yes.
Can you share that story?
I don't think I should. I mean, it's not really anything.
Don't use names.
Use names.
Don't use names.
I've had to use it and it works. There you go.
Yeah, and it's a totally different animal. But when you start to apply the techniques that you learn in anything, in tactical course, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, and they work. Yeah. That's like the biggest aha moment of your like, whoa, like we were talking about this the other night with Casey. It's like, he's had people that have never been in a fight off the mats in his life with Coach Casey. And he was like, people using, they're like, whoa, it really worked, man. Yeah. Like it's, so it's developing that trade craft, that skill and applying it with good technique and being able to see it implemented and see it work. Is it more satisfying seeing it work outside of the cage than in the cage?
Yes, I think so. Because you're outside of that safe box. It's real life. So is fighting, but you can't really, you can get killed, but not as much as outside.
They create a lot of parameters.
Yeah, for sure.
To protect, and they should.
Yeah.
And they should. Now, where does it go from here with fighting? And what changes would you like to see selfishly for fighting to improve it and to make it better? Because I've had this debate with multiple guests. Mm-hmm. What would you like to see more of, like a retirement plan, health care? Like, what is the perfect world?
Yeah, both of those. I don't see that happening anytime soon, but yeah, that would be great. I mean, we put our bodies through so much hell. Like, when I'm 60, 70, I can't even imagine what that's going to feel like. So, yeah.
And how important has recovery become for you?
At this age, it's more important than
probably the most important.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I've learned that, through trial and error. I've been hurt plenty. I've had surgeries. I've been through so much when it comes to that. So recovery is super important now for me.
At what age does it become, the recovery becomes almost more important to you? We were talking about this with Bo the other day a little bit.
I think as soon as I hit like 30, 31, that's when I was like, okay, I can't just jump into sparring. I can't just jump into grappling. I'm usually going to get hurt most of the time. So,
because overtraining to me is a real thing.
Oh, big time. Like, I did it all through my 20s, and it was easy. I mean, I didn't have to really recover that much. I was just killing myself day after day, and that's how I got to the top. So I was like, okay, maybe I got to continue to do it this way in order to be successful. And as soon as I started to get older, it was like injuries, torn ACL, tore my shoulder. There was just so much. But yeah, overtraining is huge. But a lot of coaches, old school coaches, like, no, do more. More is better. And it's like, no, it's not at all.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with the age. And, I've had some of my best results training when it was like an every other day type of schedule.
Yeah, me too.
Alternating, and I think people, I've trained all over the world with all kinds of people, and I've been blessed to train with some of the best in the world. And as I've gotten older, I've just found less is more.
Yeah, it is. Quality.
Mm-hmm. Quality over quantity. Mm-hmm. If you have someone coming into the sport now, a female, maybe they ask you questions, what advice do you give them? Where do you start? What's your top 3?
My top 3? Man.
Watch your wallet.
Yeah. God, I wouldn't even know where to start. Basics are always important. So as far as in what sport? MMA completely?
Yeah. They come in the gym. They say, Zoila, I'm a blue belt and I got 2 years of Muay Thai and I want to go pro. I want to be a pro. That's the funny one. I want to be a pro.
Get as much amateur experience as you possibly can. Work with as many people as you can. And make whatever technique you feel works for you and go with that. There's a lot of things.
I think the amateur thing is good advice. I haven't heard that.
Yeah, I didn't have an amateur career, and I wish I would have, because I felt like that first 5-6 years was my amateur career. But yeah, as far as that, like I would say, do as much as you can as an amateur before you actually go pro.
I think that's tremendous advice. Whether or not people take it's another story.
Yeah.
I think the money thing and having your business organized is a huge one.
That's huge too, especially in this sport. There's so many people try to get over on you, especially being a woman. Oh my God.
We're gonna take you to the top.
Yeah. How are you gonna get me there?
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm a big path guy. I have to see the path, and if I don't see it, I'm not sold.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get that now, but early on, it was just always promises from everything, from promotions to management to coaches to you name it. It's just now it's like, show me.
Are there more bad coaches than good ones? Or has it gotten better? I think it's gotten better.
I think it's gotten better, but as a woman, for me, there's been a lot of bad. Because
now there's more ability, though, to check into someone's background. Like years ago, you kind of had, it was still ragtag, right? Mm-hmm. So like you had Joe the bartender, fighting in UFCs. I mean, it wasn't until like really UFC 25, 30 that they started to shake a lot of that out,
Yeah.
and you had to be pretty legit. I mean, you go back to some of those early UFCs, it was like anybody they could throw in the ring.
Yeah.
You know, now because of that, it cleans up the coaching. You know, it all trickles down.
Yeah.
So now I think the coaches are more, it's easier to check. It's easier to be like, okay, this person has this and this and this skill. And I feel like the corners now, you have your ground guy, you maybe have your striking guy, you know, your mitts guy maybe there, and you know, probably your cut guy. I think they allow 3, right?
Yeah.
It's a
usually
3.
3. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's a little more dialed in.
Yeah.
Does that translate now to the camps and everything else? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it's gotten a lot better.
It has. Like now for me, it's so I just make maybe a couple of phone calls just to ask about a coach or a manager or a promotion that I want to work with, and I can get a lot of good information most of the time.
And it wasn't like that in the beginning.
No way. No, I had to go and find out for myself, which takes a lot of time. But now it's pretty easy. I mean, though I've been in the sport for a long time, so I have a lot of relationships, and it's good to find out, like, okay, is this person good? Is this person not? Like, how do they run their practices? How are they with the women and the men? Like, there's a lot when it comes to that.
And now you look for a different kind of coach. Like we talked about this a little bit. Mm-hmm. There's coaches that focus on the person, and they're trying to develop the person. And there's coaches that are focused on developing the technique. And you need different coaches at different times as your career evolves.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's kind of like one of those things, like once you kind of know what you need to be doing, you're not taking a lot of certain advices because you just don't need them. You know what the right things are.
Yeah.
And you start to dial those in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tweaking as you move forward. But I think a lot of that's cleaned up. Whether or not it's cleaned up to the point where it's not quite where NFL or Major League Baseball is, that type of process. But I think it's come a long way. And I think the steps that the UFC's taken by building the infrastructure, the PI, certain things, I think there's a lot of quick fixes. Like I've said it before, I think the PI situation could open the door to some forms of long-term health care, sometimes a long-term, what we would call like a lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know, and making that available to a lot of people. What criteria they come up with, Zoila? Like, you know, you had to have so many this pro fights or that, or be this or be that. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
You know, but I think that's a step in the right direction. Mm-hmm. I do think there's some other promotions out there that do a good job. I like some of the PFL stuff. I think what PFL's doing. PFL with that money.
Oh man, yeah. That's nice, even for the women, which is crazy because I was a part of a tournament that I was supposed to get the same check and I didn't as the men. So yeah, I mean that's great. I love it.
I think that's something that's almost on an island, special all on its own, the PFL. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's kind of a winner take all scenario. But it depends what you prefer. Is the PFL a legitimate contender as a pro circuit? I mean, I think we pretty much have it down to where maybe it's PFL, Bellator, UFC are kind of the 3 major spaces, and the rest are kind of, floating out there in space, and what that looks like, and how that shakes out. Who do you? I mean, obviously Amanda, pound for pound, is probably the best, right?
Yeah, I would say she's proved it. So yes.
She's proved it. Mm-hmm. But is she up there on that Mount Rushmore? She surpassed Ronda in her prime?
I believe so. I would like to say yes.
And is she the GOAT?
I would like to say yes. Yep.
Of female fighters? Well, I think that's fair.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only that, but I mean, she's lost too, and she's come back. She's had her ups and downs, and she's proved it time and time again, different weight classes, and yeah, she definitely is.
And I think we'll see... I don't know if the deal's done, but it's pretty damn close. I think we'll see something interesting with Valentina and Willie Zhang.
Oh, man.
If that comes to... I don't know if it's done.
Yeah, that would
be... I don't know if it's done.
I have no idea, but
I know
the thought of that would be pretty damn amazing.
Yeah, I think the way it works is Willie has to come up.
Yeah.
And that's the way it works. She would have to come up and fight up. But that's... obviously a big payday for Valentina, I would think.
Yeah.
If Valentina goes down, then all the pressure's on Willie.
Yeah.
At that point.
Would she be able to make that, though? That's tiny.
I don't think so. I think it's got to be a Willie comes up scenario.
Yeah.
Because we haven't got the details of it, of what that looks like yet. Maybe
Well, she seems like a big 15, right? I mean, she hits like a lot bigger than.
And maybe it's a catch weight.
Yeah, I mean, there's that too, 120.
Like a super fight scenario. But how do you see that playing out? And does that establish Valentina as the secondary GOAT, if you will?
I would think that she would pick her apart, stay on the outside, pick her apart. Unless, but anything.
She's given a lot of reach.
Yeah, anything can happen to MMA. If she got in, like little Tyson, it could be a short night for her too. But I believe Valentina has that upper hand when it comes to that.
And does Amanda give Valentina another shot? Do they go for 3?
I would like to see that too.
We've seen enough memes about. I'm not memes, but
Yeah. I hope so. I want to see a 3. Like
I think Valentina's earned it, even though
I think so too.
the last decision was razor close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly the reason why I want to see it.
I think I don't think Amanda loses much in that.
Yeah, no.
Especially if the timing's right. Because let's say Valentina gets past Willie Zhang, then it sets up a super fight between the two of them, and then there's really no more mountains for either of them to cross.
Yeah.
And then the whole and then it creates something really interesting, because then all the divisions kind of like everything's been accomplished. So like when that happens, and we've seen that in men, it kind of opens up the door to whatever.
Yep.
So yeah, it could be interesting.
I would like to see that. So if they can make it happen, that would be great.
If you could jump in a time machine, what any scenario, any time, what would be a dream fight for you?
For me?
Yeah. Gotta ask.
I don't know.
Is there somebody that like you just say, I wish this happened?
Not really.
You feel like you've had it all?
No. I mean, I would love to fight Valentina, but that just seems like it's just so far for me to get to.
I don't think so.
But that's always been on my mind ever since. I mean, I've seen her before the UFC, and I was just like, damn, that's a tough girl. I would love to test myself against that.
Yeah, I don't think it's that far-fetched. I think anybody can get in the mix because the way she's decimated that roster.
Oh yeah.
That I think, and I'm not saying it like you're anybody. I'm saying I think people can jump in, and we saw it with Ben.
Yeah.
I mean, he snuck past Robbie Lawler and then ran into a brick wall called George Masvidal. So,
yeah.
But I think that when the division gets shaken up like that, I think it creates opportunity. And I think that she's gone through that. I mean, who's left in that division? That's why the Willie Zhang thing's being floated.
That's true.
Who's left? Her sister?
Nah, I don't.
Then they won't fight each other.
Yeah.
They won't.
Well,
fight
it's not even that. Like I think Valentina she's far beyond where her sister is. That's my opinion. Other than that, like I
can't think of anyone left in that division.
Nothing's coming to mind right now. No.
I think Willie might have a little work to do in her division. A lot of people are quick to anoint her like the GOAT of that division, and I thought that was quick and premature. As tough as she is, as badass as she is, I still think there's a couple people in that division.
Give her some trouble.
Just selfishly, you'd like to see the fights. And anytime you have that, I think that creates, like maybe this could happen or maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't do that with Valentina. I look at that division and I'm like, she's Murderer's Row and everybody else is the Expos. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah.
So, I mean, selfishly. But, well, it'll be interesting how it plays out. How do you see it playing out if all those fights happen? If Willie happens and then a super fight between Amanda and Valentina?
If they happen, they're going to have to sign up way more girls. They're going to have to find a way. Yeah.
Because they got to shake it up.
I think they are, but a lot of these girls that they're signing now, I feel like they're doing it out of they need it. So I don't know, a lot of that. Like I've seen girls that have like maybe 5 fights, 5 pro fights, 6. I'm like, whoa, they're signing these girls 1, 2. I'm like, wow. So I don't know. A lot of those girls have a long way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's some people in Willie's division that I still think would be interesting. I think.
Like who?
Well, I mean, so, and again, these are selfish wants. I have to preface it. I think Rose would be interesting. Mm-hmm. I still think she's a little bit of a hurdle.
Yeah, for sure.
She's floating out there. I can be selfish, but then there's reality. Carla Esparza comes to mind, maybe, as lurking out there in the weeds. I don't know if that's a selfish want. Again, this is just John. This is no expert at fighting.
Yeah.
I think you have a real scrappy mutual friend of ours, Cynthia Cavillo, that might be interesting. Mm-hmm. But my point is, I do think there's some worlds for her to conquer. Yeah. I don't think that division's completely mopped up.
Well, she just got there too, right? What is that, 2-time?
Right. So, but they anointed her quick.
Yeah.
And sometimes that quick anointing, I think before the loss to Carla, Claudia would have been interesting.
Yeah.
To toss in there. Mm-hmm. So that division still has some names and some cachet that I think she hasn't quite cashed in on yet.
Yeah. I feel because the way she's finished those fights.
Right. No, that's
like, at 115, and the girls that she did it to was like, okay.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's why everybody's so quick to just be like, yep.
Yeah, but I do think that there's still some worlds to conquer there.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, albeit the way she's finished the fights, the way she's carried herself, the approach. Yeah, I mean, it might be premature for her to go into the ring with Valentina. That might hurt her.
Possibly, for sure.
So we digress. We'll see. Now, at the core of all your training, you talked about, being more capable, everything. You also stem into a lot of self-defense training. You like doing that stuff.
Yeah, it's a new love for sure. I need another one.
The shooting, everything else. Why? What is it about doing some of that stuff? I mean,
I've been around guns all my life. I've always wanted to learn. I've always wanted to be a part of that world too, and just recently I started to.
Situational awareness, tactical training, being a ninja.
Pretty much like a real one, yes.
Being all around complete.
Yeah.
It's a logical thing, and so many fighters want to step into it. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but putting your money where your mouth is and actually going out and doing it are two different things, because it's a different animal.
Yeah, because I wanted to do it for a very long time, but I just got started maybe 3 years ago, a little bit here and there. This last year, a little more than anything else.
Do you think COVID exacerbates some of that?
Yeah, for sure.
Wanting to be just more trained, more proficient.
Especially with everything that's going on right now. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, absolutely.
Makes for a scary time.
Yep, definitely.
At least in you guys' sport, it's been a little bit COVID-proof in a sense. Dana's done a good job. Some of the promotions have done a really good job keeping the ball moving forward and still having the ability, because there's a template. But tactical training and being able to participate, seeing a lot of you gals and guys come over and participate in more tactical training, it's refreshing from where I sit, because it shows me a desire to want to be better in all aspects, inside the cage, outside the cage, everything. And it's a different animal. Oh, for sure. And they're all perishable skills. Yes, very much. Which is the translatable thing. They're all perishable. Shooting's a perishable skill. MMA fighting, jiu-jitsu, everything. If you don't practice it at the minimum, once or twice a week, 4 or 5 times a month, that's minimum. I mean, that's like baseline. And you're not getting out there and getting in different gyms or different training environments, the skills will wilt. Yeah. You know,
and if you stay in a place for too long, same thing. Oh, well, as far as like MMA goes, when it comes to training,
you get complacent.
yeah, I get a little comfortable.
What do you like to shoot?
I have a Glock 17. I like that a lot. I have a Smith & Wesson MP40, and then I have a Ruger PC9. That's it. I haven't really dove into too much.
Get rid of that 40.
Okay. I've heard
Stick
that
with 9s.
plenty.
Stick with 9s. It's easier to buy ammo. Does it surprise you how the run on all that stuff has gone crazy?
No.
You can't even buy a round. And
No, not really. It doesn't surprise me with the way everything's going. No, it's unsurprising.
And there's a rise in training too in the gyms.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people just want to be more capable.
Yep. Well, they need to now.
Yeah, I agree.
They needed to back then too, but now it's in your face.
Every day.
Yep.
Every day. Does the COVID thing bother you?
It doesn't bother me much at all. I mean, I feel like I live a healthy lifestyle. The only reason why it bothers me a little bit is because my family. I mean, I would like to see them healthy and safe.
And you're over the border. You're in commie land.
Yeah.
You got to get out of there.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Have you thought about that?
Oh, I've been thinking about that heavily for a while.
What are your logical choices? Where would it be?
Where I would go? I like this place.
Vegas is great.
Yeah.
You have to put Vegas on the list.
Yeah, and not only that, but it's really close to home. Colorado's been an option.
Wah.
Yeah, I just don't like cold. I don't like cold winters.
No.
I really like Florida, but that's super far. But the weather for me is perfect. If it was like here in Vegas, and boom.
The only draw. I love Miami. It's like a second home to me. I love Florida. Could I do Miami? The traffic and everything else there, having the friends I have there, I love it. The traffic.
I live in California, so there's plenty of traffic there.
Yeah, the traffic would be an issue.
Yeah.
I could do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do it for life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd probably have to be further up the coast, like a Boca area, Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
Me personally.
More of a place for me to visit. I like a lot.
You don't never consider New Mexico? Because I know everybody's like high on that with the ATT, no.
No. I mean, I've never been there, so I don't know. But
Claudia tried it. She hated it.
really?
Yeah. So people have tried it. I know John Jones does okay down there. He likes it.
But he's out of there, isn't he? Or is he? No, he's not. He's from like New York or something like that.
Originally.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty athletic family. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
But I really like it here. Mainly because of the training and because it's super close to my family. So.
Yeah, you're home in like 4 hours.
If I drive.
Yeah.
Well.
An hour and a half on a plane.
Mm-hmm. It's super, and it's not too expensive, those flights. So it's easy.
The food's a component too.
Yeah.
You can actually go out and have a meal,
Yeah.
You're not in like Idaho.
Oh my God, that's true. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, if it was like, if you were really trying to pursue the jiu-jitsu thing, then in this Henzo in New York, and that creates interesting scenarios, but I think logically.
Yeah. I mean, New York is not, I like visiting New York, but I wouldn't want to live there.
Not now. Not
No.
Not with that governor and that mayor. Oof.
That's like California right now. It's like I'd rather be anywhere else.
Oh. Yeah, it's hard to do business there. There's just too many variables. So it's no, you're on the right path. I mean, what ultimately you decide to do is going to be thought out, be a good decision. I think the camp thing and what you build for a team that's easy.
Yeah.
That's an afterthought. I think that'll be something, and you can always bounce back and forth between here and Florida. It makes it a little bit easier if you had to. There's a lot of good training down there and different environments. I love heading to South Florida and that whole area.
It's that sun for me. like it's everything about that and the weather, which is
It's a great environment.
Which is one of the reasons why I try to go to like Thailand every year. Couldn't go this year, but it's like I just love that weather. I love being around the beach, and it's the perfect like recovery.
Now, have you reached the pinnacle you want to reach in Muay Thai? I mean, is that how does
No,
how does that work? Like
Not
that,
at
there's no
all.
belts in it, is there?
No, there is. There's WBC. That's huge in Muay Thai, and I mean there's promotions like that's not really Muay Thai, but Glory is huge, kickboxing,
Right.
Lion Fight, but they haven't been around. I don't think they've been putting on shows. There's a lot of little Muay Thai shows, but I can do a lot more in that. Right now I'm really focusing on MMA. I feel like I have unfinished business in that.
I think so too. And it's okay to be selfish.
Yeah.
I think now's the time to be selfish.
I-
But
I think in order to be successful in the sport, you kind of have to be.
yeah, now you're a champion. The question I have for you is, I sense a common ingredient in a lot of champions I have sit in that seat, and I've had a few. The common ingredient in most successful people, I don't know what you see, I want to ask you, but is they have a different kind of focus, and they have a different kind of burn. And I noticed that they're tremendously focused on not just their business, how they handle their business, how they go about their day, how they do things. There's a certain professionalism. Is that something that you've always had, or when you became a champion, you said, geez, I need to be a cut above. I need to be a slice better. When was that light bulb moment? Because you have it. I've spent enough time with you now.
Okay.
You have that kind of like, you know what you want to do, how you want to do it, and how you approach things. And I've seen that in Valentina. I've seen that in other people that have been in here, and I've had long conversations with. They're very dialed in is the term I come to. When was that kind of aha moment for you?
I think it happened after I became a world champion. I had a lot of good people around me, or I've had a lot of good people around me throughout the years, and it's just, you need to be this way, you need to do it this way. Because I was a firecracker when I first started.
Sure.
I said a lot of bad things, and I didn't do too many bad things, but I needed to be brought down to earth and just be better, be a better person, because a lot of people were looking up to me at that point in time, and I needed to be better.
What is it? Do you read a book?
I mean, yeah, I've read a lot of books.
I mean, what?
But
what's the like the light bulb moment? Is it just like I have this belt and it's a greater thing?
for me, it was people reaching out to me about their daughters or just being inspired by my story. And it was really that. It was like, oh, there are a lot of people. There are a lot of eyes on me, a lot of people that are younger. I have to be better. I have to do everything better than I have been.
You want to be an example.
Yeah, a great example.
Everybody, it's different. You know, everybody, it's a different thing that pulls them to that focus. And no one's going to do it but you. Mm-hmm. It's kind of something you can take tidbits from coaches and from people, business people, life people. You can steal certain things. And I'm always kind of like sitting with people and seeing what makes them tick. But I always look for that aha moment where it's like, okay, I got this. You know, I can make a living doing this, or yeah. I need to be a cut above, whatever that looks like, right? Mm-hmm. And I think you're exactly right. Maybe it's an email, maybe it's a conversation, maybe it's at a seminar, and you're like, I need to be better.
Yeah. It was a lot of conversations. Not only that, but for my family as well. Like I'm so close to them, and just to see them inspired and want to do more and better for themselves, like that was a lot for me. Like that did it on its own. It's like, yeah, I need to continue to do this and be great at it and show them that it's possible. Where I came from to where I am now,
It's not an easy thing. I mean, I think for everybody, the light bulb moment is different. You know, people tend to ask me, they're like, when did you think you could do a podcast? Or when did you think you could do this? Or when did you think you could be, I don't know, was I 36-year-old CEO of gun company and had employees? And you have these moments where you're like, okay, you know, I need to do this differently, or I need to do that differently. And you're still learning.
Oh yeah. Every day there's something new, something different. It's like, okay, a lot of changes. There has to be a lot of changes, and you have to be okay with that.
That light bulb moment is so powerful. And when it goes off, I feel like, especially with women, the pressure tends to be a little bit more.
Yep, I felt that too.
You know,
there was no pressure early on, and now it's like, oh god, there's pressure from everywhere. It's hard to deal with sometimes.
Do you feel like women still get the short end of the stick?
I feel yes.
How do you fix it though?
I don't know.
How do I as a white male persecuted, like how do we make it better?
Oh man, I don't think it's.
Do you think women deserve equal pay?
Some, some of us do, not all, but I think that's like every sport. Like some men don't deserve the same as the top men. It's the same thing with women, I believe.
Do you think they need to get better at negotiating?
I mean,
like the women's soccer thing comes to mind, right?
Yeah.
And that's a dicey one because a lot of people say, well, it's the draw, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what do they draw? So for me, I think the draw has to play into it.
Yeah.
You know, I think that has to be, you can't just say like, I deserve $1 million.
Yeah.
Because then you're no better than the guy that doesn't deserve it. You see where I'm going?
Yeah. They have to be able to measure that. It was kind of like the tournament that I did. I mean, I had more viewers than a lot of the other tournaments, and I still got a lot less. That's where I feel like there was a good argument there.
I think if you're headlining and you've earned the right to headline, that's a component.
Yeah.
So if you're headlining, so I can understand the women's, keep it on women's soccer for me. You know, like I can understand the women's soccer argument from the standpoint of like, they were huge. Women's soccer was huge. 96, 99, that era, going into the 2000s. But was it big enough that they deserved equal pay, or was that just a self-righteous thing? I don't know the answer. And I don't think there's an easy answer.
Yeah, there's not an easy answer for that. Like
the WNBA is an interesting one too.
Yeah.
So you can sit there and say all day like, well, women deserve equal pay. Well, is the place sold out? Are they the Lakers?
No. And that's a good argument there. Like then at that point in time, then no, but
it's okay to fight for it.
Yeah.
You know, but I think you also have to inject economics into it at some point.
Yep.
You have to talk about the economics of it. Valentina draws.
Yeah, definitely.
Amanda draws. And I think if you draw, that gives you the platform, bringing it back to MMA. The only reason Roy Jones and Tyson get in the ring again is because they draw.
Yeah.
I don't know what the buys were on that. Curious to see. But they draw, you know. I'm going to look it up.
So it makes sense.
Yeah. Let's see. 200 and some million I'm hearing from the Peanut Gallery.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Where did that come from?
Yeah, I mean, there's so they had 1.2 million buys at $50 a pop.
Yeah.
Let me get my trusty calculator. So you have to put the economics into it, right? You have to sometimes say, well, can a woman headline a card and do that? I don't know the answer.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's a lot. I mean, it's a heavy. That's 60 million. So it's $60 million that they brought in. So you have to, the headline is a component. I'm not saying that was all them. There was YouTubers in there, and everybody gets into the debate, right? About who brings in the bread.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. Like I think if you're headlining, like you brought up in a tournament, and you're the name at the top of the card, that's a component to fight for. But everybody's going to get paid down the card.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what does that look like? And there's nobody in stadiums right now, so they're not selling popcorn and peanuts and T-shirts.
That's where it's difficult right now.
That's where it's difficult.
That argument is
because it becomes a pure number at that point.
Yeah.
Meaning 60 million comes into the till, Now you got to pay everybody out. So what are Roy Jones and Tyson left to split? Maybe it's 20 million, maybe it's 25, but then it trickles down. Yeah. So getting into the argument of equal pay, I think, is a great argument to get into. And I don't shy away from it as a man. I mean, I sit in front of a microphone. I can have opinions about whatever I want. But I also think that there's the economics of it that have to be put in.
Yeah. You have to. That has to, yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the WNBA championship is drawing for views.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
It's definitely not as much as the NBA.
So, yeah, there's that. But I think it's okay to fight for it.
Yeah.
But you have to be prepared to put your big boy pants on or your big girl pants on and say, okay, let's sit down at the table and let's chop up the economics of it. And I think that's a real thing. Do I think there are some women out there that can headline various things? Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do I think they deserve equal pay at that point? Absolutely. But it's like, don't be prepared to get in the ring if you're not ready to box. If you're ready to have that conversation about the economics of it, and there's 4 people in the stadium or 18 people watching.
You don't have an argument, really?
Yeah, it's hard to form a base.
Yeah, for sure.
It's hard to form a base of an argument.
And I understand that much. So, yes.
No, I think it's fair. Now, we talked about everything. Talked about training. We talked about everything. Where does it go from here for you? What's the dream scenario?
Oh, man. To get a fight as soon as possible is the first one. I don't know. I don't see myself doing this for that much longer. So there are a few things that I want to accomplish.
What's on your list? What's your bucket list?
I wouldn't say I need. I would like another world title. Just trying to figure out exactly where. That's really it.
I think that's going to sort itself out.
Yeah, I hope so. It sorts itself out soon.
Well, I think the more you're in the mix and the more you're available, right?
I mean, I've been available since August of last year. I've been trying.
But I think maybe it's a move out here. Maybe it's whatever it is, whatever it looks like. I think that creates the opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think once you get it, I think the way it could unfold, it could be very interesting. Whether it's the UFC, PF, anything. I think that there's tremendous opportunity out there, and I think you'll find it. I think it's going to come. I do, because I'm a big believer in if you wish for it hard enough.
Well, I've been wishing for many years, so we'll see. We'll see what comes about. I mean, and working, not just wishing for it. I've been working for it. So, as soon as I start fighting somewhere, anywhere, then I feel like I can make opportunities for myself. But I haven't been able to fight, so it makes it a little difficult for me.
Well, I think you're going to get all you want. So I appreciate you taking the time, you coming on the show. It means a lot. Having a pioneer.
Thank you.
And learn to embrace that word.
I'm trying.
I think it means a lot. And I think it definitely does open doors, but I think you are a pioneer. Shout out any sponsors or any places you'll be, anything you have going on, and what's coming up for you.
Oh, my God. You put me on the spot with that.
Gyms, anything.
Well, I'm in transition, so I don't really have a gym at the moment. No, I'm just completely lost. Yeah.
Where can people find you?
On Instagram. I have all those social media outlets. I have Twitter, I have Facebook. But for Instagram, it's
at Zoila
Frausto. No, I mean I do, but it's like 20 years old.
Right. You need YouTube.
Yeah, I should probably put that together.
Can we get her squared away with YouTube? Someone? Christ. YouTube. You got to get a video thing going. That'll open some doors.
There's a lot of things that I need to do.
Yeah. Website?
I had one. No, not anymore.
We got to fix these things. We're going to fix them. We need a plan. When we hang up these mics, we're going to have a plan. By the time we're done with you'll have a podcast, YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah, all of it. Pioneer in that space. I want to thank I want to thank all the sponsors. I want to thank everybody at www.johnbartoloshow.com. I want to thank Rhino Metals, Blackwater Ammunition, Gallo Technologies, Volquartsen, Right On Optics, Manscaped, and I think Galco Leather, Holsters, Kuyu, of course. Shout out to all the sponsors. Head over to the website, leave reviews. I'm going to put Zoila's links down below. Go check all her stuff out. Appearances are going to be dicey because it's COVID. So, if you want to track her down, she's training, splitting time between, I know, here in Miami and a little bit in Cali. So she's all over the place for opportunities. Chase her down. And I appreciate you coming in. It means a lot.
Thank you.
You taking
Thank
the
you
time.
for having me.
Yeah. Why not? Do a little press, right? You're in town. You're training. And I know you'll be training 10th Planet a little bit, Extreme a little bit while you're here.
Yeah.
So shout out to those guys. Coach Casey. You're doing some sparring today.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Screwing around.
Yeah, Casey's been awesome.
Casey's the best. So I appreciate you coming down, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. We are out.